Hey there, guys. Since you've clicked on this video, I'm assuming that you would like to learn how to create a door and room system for your game. So without further ado, I'm going to show you how to do that in 15 minutes or less. This tutorial assumes that you are not new to Unity, so if you are, this might not be the right tutorial for you to start on. So to begin, we're going to start up a new project in Unity. Um, I'm using version 2019.4.0 F1, and the script or the folders that you see here are just from me doing the run through of this earlier. So to begin, I'm going to show you how to get the standard assets package. You're going to go to the Unity Asset Store and type in standard assets, and it should be right there for you. You'll then just import those in. I've selected the full package. Not sure. This is for a older version of Unity, so your experience may vary with any errors. But after that, we're going to make a folder for the scripts. And then we're going to create the scripts. So we'll make a door manager. We'll make the room manager. And of course, we need a higher level manager. So this will be your game manager or whatever kind of systems you're plugging this into. Pulling up Unity here, so we're going to start filling in with the higher level manager. So we're going to have a list of rooms. Then in the room manager, we're going to have a list of doors, as well as a room ID. We're going to have a property so that you can get that room. And then we're going to, in the door manager, have a connection to the two room managers that the doorway will be connecting, as well as a game object for the door block. Starting with the awake function in the higher level manager, we'll have a chain of setup functions that'll be run on awake. Setting up the room manager setup function now, which will be procking down onto the doors. And now setting up the setup for the doors. So this will take in a room manager since it will be being called from two room managers, and that will be filling in. So we're just setting up an error if the door block is equal to null, since that is required. And here's the filling in of the two rooms. And now in Unity, once again, we're going to make an attribute holder. So this will contain the current room of the whatever you attach this to. So it could be an enemy, it could be the player. For this example, we'll be doing the player only, and for in the update, we'll be spitting out just what room the object is currently in. So now in the door manager, we're going to be setting up the triggers that will switch that variable between the rooms as they pass. We'll be using a dictionary to store since multiple objects could be in the doorway transitioning through it. The string will be the name. That will be the key for the dictionary, and then the float will be the actual position. So we're getting the position through an inverse transform point. We'll be using the local position on the door, and that'll just be the X. Depending on the model, it might be the X, the Y, or the Z, depending on how you created that. So we're setting up the on trigger exit now. And yeah. So we'll know that it is a successful pass-through when the entry position is uh, on the opposite side of 0 as the exit position, or vice versa. And we'll spit out a good pass-through in that case. If it is, then we want to try and get the attributes component. And if we get that, we'll be able to swap the current room ID, depending on what we have. So now we're just going to have a debug log for a non-good pass-through. So this will be if it is on the same side of 0, the exit and the entry. And we'll remove it from the list whenever we're exiting that doorway. So now we're going to set up the close and open door functions. We'll set up a bool as well for that. And that'll just be activating the door block object. Now to Room Manager, we're going to uncomment the setup function, pass in that instance, and we'll be doing the same for the higher level manager as well. Back to Room Manager. We're going to create a player entry. So this will be where you have any special cases. Say you want the room to lock down, for example, which is what we'll be doing. So this will be called from the door manager when that player enters that new room. Since we don't have a way of unlocking the doors, we'll just be sort of setting it up as the door is locked for 5 seconds. And we'll be using the tag of the player object to detect if that's the player or not. Also in the door manager, we're going to set up the initialization for that door block. So for instance, you can have it closed on the very start on awake. So now with the script set up, we'll get Unity going. We'll make the ground plane. We'll drag in the character controller from that Unity package. But if you want to do this for yourself with your own character controller, all you need to do is add the attribute holder script that we made. Just going to spend some time fiddling around with the setup here. There we go. So now we're going to just create a simple sort of archway looking door. There we go. We're going to add the door manager script now to the base object here. And we'll make the door block object as well. Of course, on your own objects, you would probably have some sort of animation for a door opening or closing of some sort. For this example, we're just going to be having a cube appear to block your way. Drag that in. and we'll make that a prefab. That sample door there is just from the example piece. No need to worry about that. Fiddling around with the lights now. There we go. So now we can start adding the rooms. So we're going to have 2 rooms on either side of this door. We'll have a room 0 and a room 1. We'll add the room manager script. For your actual usage purposes, you'll want to have the room ID set up by the higher level manager instead of just having to manually type it in for everything. But now we can enable the bool for the room ID 1 that we won't be starting in. And speaking of the higher level manager, we'll add that in now. Drag in both of those rooms. Get everything all set up. We'll add the box collider trigger to the door. And you'll want it to be sized a bit larger than the door actually is. Something like this looks pretty good. And we'll also tag the player, the FPS controller as a player, so that it gets right in. And now, as you can see, we can walk through the door, and the door will close behind us. We cannot pass through. 5 seconds have passed. The door opens, and you are able to walk through it into the new room where it does not close behind you because we did not have that checked. But if we re-enter that room, it does again. You can also see the current room ID had changed. And now just to show a brief little example that I whipped up to hopefully show you the potential behind this little system here that we've got now. And I have not added any code to the scripts that we made, just using what we made. So yeah, hopefully this gives you a little couple ideas what to do with this. Before the end of the video, I'd like to give a mention to our game High Dynamic Range, which uses a similar door room system. It's a student project created by myself and 6 other fellows in the program, where we're tasked with creating a decent little game within 4 months. We've recently just put the game out on OpenAlpha on itch.io, and I'd love for you to maybe give it a shot. Links to that will be down in the description if it looks at all interesting to you. I, as well as my studio, also have a Twitter where you can find devlogs on the game, as well as meeting the other members. Anyways, thank you for watching, and have a good night or day.